What is up, guys? It is John here with Hearthstone, and today in this video I am going to be talking about the top decks for May. So the Ungoro meta has been very diverse, probably the most diverse amongst any of the expansions so far, and I love it. So Warrior is still the most popular class, but its popularity is declining as time goes on because people were implementing things like crawlers and stuff like that. On a similar note, the Paladin's popularity has been declining because Warlock Paladin was so strong, but now people have been putting Hungry Crabs in almost every single deck, you know, just slashing the win rate of Warlock Paladin. Druid popularity has been rising with Token Druid and Jade Druid, but mostly Token Druid, you know, being able to fit in the Golakka crawlers as well as the Hungry Crabs into the Token Druid deck, while still, you know, it's not hindering its win rate because they're beasts and they could still buff them up. It's just taking Token Druid, you know, to another level. Miracle Rogue has been declining. I believe it's been slashed by about a third at the legend rank, so you're not seeing as many of those anymore. Burn Mages have been on the rise. Really fun deck. You know, I guess a lot of people are just loving it and finding a lot of success with it. Hunters have been declining. I think as the meta sort of evolves, Hunter just seems to be taking a back seat. Silence Priest is very, very popular right now, and it keeps just going up. It seems to be a really, really good deck here. The underdog classes right now are Shaman and Warlock. I'd say more so Warlock. I did run a Zoo deck that I found a lot of success with, but other than that, I haven't seen many Warlocks. Shamans, you know, the elementals are fun. Control Shaman is starting to become a little more popular, but yeah, those guys are kind of on the back burner right now. So all these stats are taken off of Vicious Syndicate. They ran a great report, and I think every week or every month they come out with a new report. It's fantastic. I'll link to it below, but let's talk about their power rankings. For all ranks, we could see that tier 1 is Warlock Paladin, mid-range Paladin, Pirate Warrior, and Secret Mage. For rank 5 to rank 1, tier 1 is Warlock Paladin, mid-range Paladin, Pirate Warrior, and Secret Mage. Same thing. But when we go to the legend tier, there is no tier 1. No one class is way better than the other at this point. There's looks like about 12, 13 different decks in tier 2, which is the highest tier for legend. So if you're trying to rank up, it might be best to play Warlock Paladin, mid-range Paladin, Pirate Warrior, and Secret Mage. Now I'm going to give a brief rundown of each class. I'm just going to pick one or two decks which I think are best and which caught my attention most. So I'm sorry if I don't mention a deck. These are just the ones that I like and I think you guys should try out. Let's start with Druid. So right now, I think the best deck to play for Druid is Token Druid. Jade Druid's good. I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video, but Token Druid is really good. The one I'm going to talk about specifically is Tyler's Token Druid. It is a little bit expensive with, you know, they got Finja patches, 2 living mana. So it's a little bit pricey, but it is a strong deck. And there actually is a budget version of it, which I will also link. It's Fade's budget Token Druid deck. So if you're on a budget, try that one. If you're not, go for this one. But basically what you want to do, you want to flood the board. You want to buff up your minions with cards like Mark of the Lotus, Marka Yashraj, I'm probably not saying that right, and Power of the Wild. You know, it's also really strong with playing a living mana and flooding the board, hitting them with the Savage Roar, stuff like that. The deck just flows really nicely, and it's definitely a fast way to climb the ladder. It also counters Pirate Warrior and Warlock Paladin in the sense that it runs 2 Hungry Crabs and 2 Golakka Crawlers. So there's that, which definitely helps if you're seeing Pirates and Murlocs. All right, now talking about Warrior. Warrior's, you know, been on the decline, but still really, really strong. the most notable decks are the Taunt Quest Warrior and Pirate Warrior, which we will be talking about mostly today, but there's also, you know, Control Warrior and Tempo Warrior that are kind of on the rise, starting to see a little bit of play, people messing around with those. But definitely always a strong deck, but, you know, it's kind of scummy, but whatever. We got the Pirate Warrior. Once again, a little bit pricey with a couple legendaries. We got Leroy in there, Patches in there, kind of just the standard Pirate Warrior. No one really, you know, messes around with this deck too much. So, yeah, that's Pirate Warrior. Not too much to say about that. As far as Taunt Warrior is always fun. Love Taunt Warrior. It almost feels control-y, you know. Basically what you're doing here is you control the board, try and control the aggro from getting out of control. And then once you complete your Fire Plume's Heart, you start chucking fireballs at them, guys. You just start chucking the fireballs, and they can't handle the balls, dude. They can't handle the balls. 2 mana for 8 damage. Like they oh my god, dude. It's rough. You know, playing against a Taunt Warrior who's completed his Fire Plume's Heart it's just I don't know. It's rough. It's the only way to say it. Some people, you know, the Kalento's Taunt Warrior has Battle Rage in it. Some people don't do that. A lot of people do no Sleep of the Fishes. Sleep with the Fishes, I mean. A lot of people do, what is it, Shield Block and Shield Slam. But this deck has a little bit of flexibility, but I will be linking Kalento's Taunt Warrior. So Rogue has also been on the decline now that people have been, you know, learning how to deal with the Crystal Quest Rogue. But there is still Crystal Rogue, there's still Miracle Rogue and Tempo Rogue, but the deck I'm going to talk about is going to be Crystal Rogue. So my favorite version, which might not be your favorite version, is the RDU's Crystal Rogue, where he runs Wisps, he runs Doomsayers, 2 Doomsayers, 2 Vanishes, and 2 Mimic Pods. Anyways, I like the Vanish. The Vanish seems to always help me in clutch situations. It's a lot of fun. Doomsayers are good for stalling, but there's definitely a bunch of other versions of Crystal Rogue that people are messing around with. But the main thing you want to do here, you want to try and complete your quest by, you know, let's say like playing a Novice Engineer, bouncing it back, playing a Novice Engineer, bouncing it back. You just got to play it 4 times. If you're able to complete your quest by turn 5, you have a pretty good chance at winning. If you complete on turn 4, it's like, what? How did you do that? You drew really nicely, but anyways, if you complete by turn 4, you're probably gonna win. But that's Crystal Rogue. It's a lot of fun. You should try it. Moving on to Paladin. Paladin's really strong this expansion, and it is just, it's out of control sometimes. If a Murloc Paladin gets the right start, it's really hard to stop him. Mid-range Paladin's also really good, and they're even coming out with Control Paladin that's starting to show some success. I'm mostly going to talk about Murloc in mid-range. As far as Murloc, we have Thwelmenos is, I'm probably saying that wrong, but sorry. Yeah, his Murloc Paladin, really strong. Really good. Basically, you hit the ground running with those 1-cost Murlocs. You just flood the board with more Murlocs. You buff them up with Seers, with Rockpool Hunters, with the War Leaders. And to the mid game, you can do, you know, stuff like Blessing of Kings on them. You get to Spike Ridge Steed, and then you also have cards like Tyrion for the late game. Also, Tarim making everyone a 3/3 is definitely a lot of strategy that can go into that to help you succeed with Murloc Paladin. As far as mid-range, there's a few mid-range Paladins. I don't think it's really refined into anything specifically, lots of room to play around with, but I'll be linking Machamp's Murloc mid-range Paladin, which is kind of like half Murloc, half mid-range, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's pretty much like almost like a really slow Murloc, at least in my opinion, running a half a Murloc package with also cards like the Aldor Peacekeeper, Ivory Knight, couple Spike Ridge Steeds. You know, it runs Curator, Primordial Drake, Ragnaros Light Lord, and Tyrion as well. So mid-range, definitely a fun deck. Mage has been pretty crazy here in Un'Goro. We have a lot of good mages. We got the, you know, the Discover Mage, you got Burn Mage, you got Freeze Mage, you got Secret Mage, and they're all doing pretty well. I think the worst of those four is Freeze Mage. Secret Mage is still kind of in infancy right now, but there's definitely some decks breaking into the top 100 in Legend. But it's a lot of fun. I love Secret Mage, but Discover Mage seems to be, or Discover Burn Mage seems to be the best right now. As far as deck lists, I'm going to be linking Gunter's Discover Burn Mage. It's basically you get a lot of value out of all your cards, you know, dropping like a Medivh and then a Pyroblast. That's a lot of value, guys. It's a lot of value. Definitely a hard deck to play correctly anyways, but you can get really high in the ranks here with Burn Mage. As far as Priest, there's actually a surprising amount of Priest decks that are doing well. You got Dragon Priest, Miracle Priest, and most of all, Silence Priest. Silence Priest is doing incredibly well. It's a lot of fun. It's really good. It's a great deck, and it's not too expensive if you have, you know, the Shadow Visions and the Lyra Sunshard and the Faceless Shambler. Okay, it's kind of expensive, but anyways, this is Zuka's Silence Priest, and basically what you do is you get some big boys on the board with something like your humongous Razor Leaf, and then you start buffing them up, you know, with Divine Spirits, and then you inner fire them, and next thing you know, you have a 20 damage, 20/20 minion on the board. You could Faceless Shambler it, and it's just, it gets out of control. But Silence Priest is insane right now. So mid-range Hunter is the only Hunter deck, really. People have been doing hybrid mid-range Hunters sort of things, and they're working out pretty well, actually. We got Freddy Cole's hybrid mid-range Hunter. It's kind of like an evolved version of what Hunter has been for the first month of Un'Goro. It does cut the high mains, which is interesting, and it runs a Leroy Jenkins. It's really good, though. He placed in the top 20, so that's pretty crazy. But as far as the normal mid-range Hunter that people are seeing, it's a cheap deck. It's great if you want to climb ladder really fast, really cheap. You know, you just want to hit like rank 5 or something. Go ahead and run a mid-range Hunter with the most expensive cards being Savannah Highmane. An example here is Muzzy's mid-range Hunter. So definitely check that out if you're on a budget. And it's still pretty good, but it is declining. People are starting to learn how to deal with that. So Shaman's kind of, you know, not doing too hot, but there are a lot of Shaman decks that I think just need to be fleshed out a little bit more in order to be good in Un'Goro. And starting with the default Shaman deck right now, it's Elemental. Then we got Control, and then we also have like the aggro one, which mostly uses Savage Roar. But my favorite one, which I'm going to talk about, is Elemental Shaman. So Elemental Shaman is expensive. We got Boar controls, Elemental Shaman clocking in at 8,620 dust. So it is pricey, and it's not as good as other decks, but still good. I definitely love Devolve. It's so good. It's really good against some, like, if a Druid living manas and you devolve him, it ruins his board, and he doesn't get his mana back. So that's pretty insane. But yeah, here's this deck. Mostly it's played on like a nice curve, keeping the board clear and going to like for that long ass game where you win in the end. Kind of like Control, I guess, in a way, kind of. All right, for Warlock, let's be serious. Warlock is getting the least amount of love here in Un'Goro, but there's variations of Zoo, which I found a lot of success with last season, and there's also Handlock. I'm just going to be talking about Zoo. It's pretty cheap, so I like it for climbing the ladder really fast on a budget, so go ahead and check it out if you want to do that. Right here we have Wabeka's Zoo Warlock. This thrives on discards. You're going to be playing, hopefully, your cards like your Malkazar's Imp, and then you can throw cards that have discards, which are usually a drawback, which start to turn into a benefit, you know, like a bonus. It's almost like just shuffling through your deck. You can throw like your Darkshire Librarians down, and you get a card back. You can throw down your Lakari Fellhound, and there's no drawback. You pretty much draw 2 cards. You know, throwing a Doomguard down gives you a 5/7 charge. I think it's 5/7, right? Or is it 5/5? I don't know. Anyways, it gives you a charging minion, and it also gives you a 2-card draw. Also, one of those cards you discard could be a Silverware Golem, which puts a free minion on the board. Like, it's a strong deck. I like it, but for some reason, no one's playing it, so I guess it's just not as good as the other decks. So yeah, guys, if you're on a budget, the 3 decks I recommend are Midrange Hunter, Fade's free-to-play Token Druid, and then like a cheap variation of Zoo Warlock or Pirate Warrior, which is kind of cheap. If you have Leroy. If you don't have Leroy, I would go with a cheap Zoo Warlock. So yeah, guys, that wraps up the little meta video for this month of May, showing the decks I think that are best, and backed up by information by Vicious Syndicate, which I will link them below. They are amazing. You guys need to check them out. You can look at their website to get more detail on, you know, the meta. Yeah, if you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe. This took me a while to make, so if you guys don't show too much love, I probably won't make another one. But yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. Please, again, like, sub, and I will see you guys in the next video.